I think clinical trials offer so much wealth of information, and it's important when we plan them, not only to think about regulatory outcomes, but what's important to the patient. And often that's, besides vision, other quality of life measures like the ability to drive, the ability to read. So I think it's important as investigators for us to always think about that.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And patient-centered drug development is key. And I would even extend to say that working with patients and advocacy groups is key to help ensure that the research progress that we make reaches patients whose lives can benefit most from it.
Not only the scientific end goal, but the process as well. And it starts from the beginning when we're designing clinical trials. How inclusive is that going to be so that the end results can be applicable to as many patient population, certain patient groups as possible.
I think the patient's voice is so important in understanding what their challenges are and start with the backdrop and reflecting their experience and the endpoints in addition to the regulatory strategy. And then at the same time, it'd be good to keep in mind mechanism of actions of interventions, drug devices, etc., and how those measurements can reflect success in that patient experience. But I think it does start with the patient and their stories and what we are trying to help with.
We know in our clinical trials, we have certain entry criteria, and sometimes that's not reflective of the general population Judy or Nora might see in clinical practice. And so real world gives us a bigger sample of the actual patient population we're treating to see how they respond and if there are other issues that may arise. And sometimes it's hypothesis generating. It gives us ideas of other important medical unmet needs that need to be tackled.
Yeah, Diana, it's so true that in clinical trials, we often start out with patients who've never had any treatment naive, as we say, but we know from experience that once the drug is approved, we start using on patients who are most refractory to our previous treatments. So we are applying it to a different population, first of all.
And also compliance, because patients in clinical trial are motivated usually, and they stick to all their scheduled visits, where in real world, sometimes we see gaps there, and then we have to figure out how to meet those gaps.
That's so important. I think that if we don't include representative samples of patients, then we risk creating drugs for a world that doesn't exist.